Global warming has made a significant impact on the Earth. The greenhouse effect caused by increased greenhouse gases and other pollutants has contributed significantly to the gradual increase in the overall temperature of Earth's atmosphere. Canada and other countries that are geographically located further from the equator are more at risk of facing the impacts of global warming and climate change, which is more persistent at higher altitudes. The large impact of global warming has and will continue to devastate Canada's nature, climate, and bodies of water.
Global warming has made a massive impact on Canada regarding the country's climate. Canada's average annual temperature has increased by 1.6 degrees between the period of 1948 to 2013. The amount and distribution of rain, snow, and ice, as well as the increased risk of extreme weather such as heat waves, heavy rainfalls, flooding, droughts, and forest fires, cause problems for Canada. Additionally, winter and spring temperatures are increasing, which has resulted in longer winters and springs when compared to summer and fall. The far north of Canada is the most severely impacted by the increased temperatures, whereas although the Maritimes experience the least impact due to global warming, evidence of it does exist. Furthermore, warming in the west compared to the east is much more evident. Higher temperatures in Canada give rise to numerous concerns regarding the northern part of Canada, the prairies, and the Maritime provinces. In Canada's north, storms, flooding, erosion, and melting ice would result from the warming climate. The changing landscape would also put the wildlife that can only exist in that area to become endangered. Flooding could destroy nearby vegetation and water supplies by increasing the salt levels. First Nations groups would also suffer in the area because of the loss of lifestyle caused by the decrease of hunting and trapping activities. With this ecosystem deterioration, everything within it will also cease to exist. On the prairies, droughts, storms, fires, wind erosion, and heat waves would also cause major problems. The crops in this region, such as grains and additional produce, are a valuable export for Canada, and extreme climate changes would be a strain on the agricultural economy. These would also be dangerous conditions for people living in these areas. Heat waves would be prominent, and healthcare would have to increase. The Maritime provinces would also suffer largely. Warmer average temperatures, higher sea levels, more extreme rainfalls, and frequent storms causing flooding would result in a dangerous situation for the Maritimes. The region already has some of the highest tides in the world, especially in the Bay of Fundy. More extreme weather, decreasing sea ice cover, increasing storms, sea level rise, and erosion rates add to the potential problems. Water expands and sea levels rise as oceans warm, and melting glaciers, icebergs, and ice sheets add to this volume. Additional problems for humans include the fact that most of the population resides along the coastline. Therefore, most of the infrastructure is located in these vulnerable areas. These buildings were designed to stay protected from weather events which are less extreme and less frequent than what's now predicted. Overall, Canada would experience multiple problems in the North, Prairies, and Maritimes because of global warming.
Hi, we are here at Southside Orchards talking to Farmer Ben about the effects the changing climate has on crops. Welcome to the show, Farmer Ben.
Thanks for having me.
What can you tell us about how crops have changed in the last few years as a result of global warming?
With the climate consistently changing, particularly getting warmer, there is an inconsistency of quality of produce.
Many agricultural regions are starting to face increased vulnerability to changes in climate. Can you elaborate on that?
Every year there is something new to deal with. It is a lot of work trying to keep up with the weather.
What can you tell us about the changes in weather?
All throughout Canada, we are hit more frequently by extreme weather ordeals such as droughts, violent storms, and flooding. The droughts and floods are caused by long periods of either no rain or lots of rain at once.
What are some other concerns you may have?
The quality of soil is also changing drastically. Water shortages are becoming common occurrence, which would be an obvious problem. There are many pests and harmful insects destroying all the crops. These are problems that make farmers like me lose our patience, and farming is becoming more expensive.
Thank you so much, Farmer Ben. We really appreciate getting your opinion on these topics. Good luck for this year's growing season.
Thanks.
Global warming has had a significant impact on Canada's natural environment. Some of these changes include extinction, carbon dioxide levels endangering species, and changes in bird migration causing additional problems with pests and insects. The current trend of increasingly warmer weather will result in extinction of many of Canada's diverse wildlife. Numerous species that are at risk include polar bears, peregrine falcons, rattlesnakes, North Atlantic right whales, caribou, reindeer, tuft puffins, ducks, warblers, thick-billed murres, and the piping plover. Tundra and sea ice habitats will disappear, leaving many homeless animals to gain the title of endangered or at risk. Excessive and ever-increasing carbon dioxide levels act as fertilizer, nourishing many plant species, many of which are invasive. As these species numbers grow, they wipe out the vast number of competing species. An example of a species that benefits from carbon dioxide in warm climate would be poison ivy, which many humans are allergic to. Ragweed pollen season is getting longer as it gets warmer and more carbon dioxide is produced. This contributes to a longer weed growth season as well. Warmer temperatures allow mountain pine beetles, which feed off mature lodgepole and ponderosa pine trees, populations to thrive and survive longer. The Bruce bark beetle infests Egelmont, Sitka, and white spruce species of trees. Western spruce budworm prey on Douglas fir, true firs, and spruce trees in Vancouver, Kamloops, and Caribou in particular. Many different species of trees are endangered as they are destroyed, eaten, and prevented from reproducing. Also, many bird species will migrate to cooler habitats. This change of habitat means the birds have to adapt and get used to many new changes, many of which are unable to adapt. These birds' diets consist of all sorts of insects. If they leave, insect populations will rise. More insects will survive the summers, at which time many human activities take place, and when most humans spend time outside. Examples of some parasitic bugs that put humans at risk of disease are mosquitoes and ticks. The more mosquitoes, the more risk there is to humans of the spread of diseases such as malaria, West Nile, and Zika virus. Also, warmer weather leads to a longer bug season as bugs thrive in higher temperatures. Many of these pests, which affect all types of life forms, from animals to plants. Crops are damaged from the appearance of many pests. This leads to the use of pesticides, further contributing to destruction of the environment in the form of pollution. The chemicals used in the pesticides are harmful to many delicate yet important species such as honeybees and butterflies. The lower the population of these species, the less pollinators there are in the world. Global warming has caused changes which prove to be challenging for numerous plants and animals, including extinction, carbon dioxide levels causing danger, and the alteration of bird migration, leading to increased pest and insect populations.
Changes are occurring in the Arctic. More of these birds are migrating north, leaving behind large insect populations. Large caribou numbers are also rapidly decreasing. Don't you want to protect them? Do you really want to be responsible for the death of the king of the Arctic? Bodies of water have suffered severely due to global warming. It was predicted that global warming would lead to problems in the future, and an important one is competition and demand for water. Canadians are experiencing a decrease in this because of less rain and groundwater, so noticeable alterations are occurring in the waters of Canada. Changes as a result of global warming have been evident in Canada's freshwater, wetlands, and in the north. Freshwater is going to be in demand in the future, which will increase competition in obtaining it. This freshwater is also highly at risk for being contaminated by salt from the rising sea levels, pollution from runoff caused by heavy rains and snow, and parasites attracted to the warmer water temperatures. For example, Nova Scotia is one of the most vulnerable places for this to occur. Warmer water would cause problems like toxic algae blooms, which make water undrinkable, which would prove to be a major issue for Ontario and Quebec as people rely on the Great Lakes. Millions of people in this region depend on this water supplies as well as groundwater and rainfall for drinking, agriculture, and industrial uses. Rainfall, evaporation, and groundwater recharge rates will get in the way of these uses for a number of reasons. Lake levels are expected to decline with more moisture evaporating. Summer water will reduce and diminish groundwater recharge, which will lead to the drying up of small streams, reduce the span of wetlands, resulting in poorer water quality and less wildlife habitat, and more frequent and severity of droughts and floods. When ocean waters absorb carbon dioxide, acidification occurs. This prevents coral reefs from forming their structural skeletons, which provide them with physical support. Furthermore, warmer temperatures cause ocean water temperatures to also rise. The warm water in oceans prevents coral reefs from allowing algae to live in their tissues, causing them to turn completely white. This is called coral reef bleaching. The lack of this algae causes coral reefs to die, which in turn causes a loss of habitat for organisms that rely on them to live in. Canada's wetlands are extremely vulnerable to this extreme weather that climate change brings. Erosion, flooding, and saltwater contamination are particularly dangerous for the health of wetlands, especially coastal ones, since they are altered significantly and cannot recover easily. In arid and semi-arid areas, hotter, drier summers and a larger use of water for irrigation could reduce the water supply for wetlands. With a decreased water volume, the concentration of pollutants such as agricultural chemicals, naturally occurring salts, and atmospheric pollutants would increase. Even small temperature of water supply changes have significant effects on wetlands. Temperature changes would allow undesirable plant species to grow. These could be invasive and risk the survival of other plants that were native. Plants and animals would suffer if their life cycles require large amounts of water at specific times in the year. In the north, water is extremely crucial. The water is mostly in the form of ice and is therefore trapped in large glaciers, but as they melt, this water escapes and rises sea levels. Also, this free water could ruin infrastructure in the inhabited areas of in the north because of floods. Water is also necessary to getting around in the north. Communities rely on lakes and rivers to freeze and become passable. Winter ice roads provide the one single link to the rest of the country from the north and prove to be critical infrastructure. The winter roads are suffering in this area because they aren't as accessible and are also becoming increasingly dangerous. These roads can no longer be usable in the future, and relying on planes for travel would become extremely expensive for communities. Furthermore, the disappearance of a lot of ice is negatively impacting First Nations lifestyles in that area. They still traditionally rely on hunting and trapping to provide them with food, clothes, dishes, and other essentials. However, the animals that provide them with these basic necessities are slowly decreasing in population because of the melting of the ice. These issues in the north are providing communities with many challenges and which may be difficult to solve. It is evident that global warming has made alteration in Canada's freshwater wetlands and in the northern waters. Despite the fact that global warming has had a harmful impact on Canada's climate, nature, and bodies of water, there are in fact some positives that have resulted from it. The increased temperature has provided longer growing seasons in certain regions, which is beneficial to the economy. Also, the tree line may extend north, resulting in more diversity of plants, which would further increase the diversity of animals. The large trees would provide shelter for numerous animals, such as rodents, insects, and birds. Forest growth would also increase because of the warmer climate, resulting in an increase of possible habitats for certain species. However, a couple of positive impacts cannot make up for the numerous negative impacts of global warming on the Earth. There are multiple ways in which humans can reduce their carbon footprint and positively impact the Earth. You can help reduce the cutting down of trees by improving agricultural practices, recycling paper, and encouraging forest management, so trees can grow back once they are cut down, and by converting to clean energy. Some ways in which you can help the Earth are by consuming less fossil fuels, wasting less oil and coal, and instead carpooling, taking public transit, walking, or biking. Decreasing the consumption of harmful fossil fuels leads to less fossil fuels being burned to extract, produce, and ship across the globe. Investing in locally grown produce reduces the emission of fossil fuels from the food to travel long distances. Reducing greenhouse gases is also important by upgrading infrastructure like making energy-efficient buildings, improving cement-making processes, by unplugging devices when not in use, and changing light bulbs to LED lights, and buying earth-friendly products.
Together we can save the Earth.